What you guys, got another video here for you on what I hate about Windows 10. Now, hate is quite a strong word to use, but there really is some things that I don't like at all about Windows 10, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Now, if you've got any things that you hate about Windows 10, then let me know in the comments section below. Try and keep it a little bit civil, but you know, just air your opinions on what you don't like about it. So first up, I think the main concern is always going to be privacy, and that will be to do with telemetry, data collecting and stuff like that. So that is probably one of the biggest concerns that most people have, and it is for me too. I mean, when you go into settings here and go into privacy, there's a privacy area here. This shouldn't even be on the operating system as far as I'm concerned. You know, you shouldn't have to go in here and literally turn every single feature off. It's just really time consuming to have to go into here and have to turn a lot of this stuff off, and then you have to go into other places on the computer and disable a bunch of stuff there. Also, a lot of this stuff is data collecting and sending it back to Microsoft, and most people get fed up with actually having to deal with it every single time. And once you start reading the small print, you start worrying what sort of data they are collecting. Now, once you've got all your settings in place, you may be thinking that's okay, but you don't. You have to go onto the internet and then download some sort of third-party software to then disable a bunch of settings if you don't know what you're doing. And of course, if you've got the home version, then you're not going to have Group Policy Editor, which you can do manually by hand. So you're going to have to go there and download something like O&O Shutup 10, and of course make a load of settings on the system to turn off a lot of features that you don't want, i.e. the telemetry, Cortana and a bunch of other bits inside there. It just disables all of that. So you just have to go through a load of different things to get it to how you want it, which is basically just a plain Windows operating system, and you can install and download whatever you like and put on your system. That's the way it should be. But nowadays Windows comes heavily bloated, and you have to download programs like this to disable all the bloatware that you don't need. And if you don't use those programs, you're going to have to go into services manually and disable a lot of the services that you don't need, i.e. telemetry and other data collecting and advert type of services that are already enabled and running on the system. And even then, you're probably going to have to go into group policy and disable more stuff. Now, the next thing is Windows updates. For some reason, they wanted to take away the control for Windows 10 updates and force people to update, especially Windows 10 Home. They had hardly any control over it at all, and now they've added in a pause button, which is nice, so you can pause it for 7 days. And that's because they were forcing updates on people when they didn't want to update. You could be working and all of a sudden Windows is shutting down. It would be updating in the background. It's always updating. There's always bugs. You can change the active hours now, but there was always bugs and there's always issues with it, you know, audio problems or other types of problems. And you've got a working system, it's working okay, and you do an update and all of a sudden it doesn't work properly anymore. You can make a lot more changes nowadays compared to what you did when Windows 10 first come out. So they are listening a little bit to people who want to be able to, you know, have their updates delivered when they want them to be delivered, and you should be able to opt out whenever you don't want to. Another thing I don't like about the updates is all your settings get put back to defaults, so all your hard work of putting all those settings in place, they all get resetted. All Candy Crush comes back down, on all those stupid apps that you never asked for, they get put back onto the system, and it is quite frustrating, it really is. So next up, we've got a minor pet hate of mine on Windows 10, and it's this little area here. You go to View, go to folder options here, and you can change this up. For some reason on Windows 10 and other versions of Windows, they still don't allow you to see the file extensions. When you go to View, hide file extensions, and this is really important because I do think this is how malware sometimes tricks people. They don't know that it's an actual executable file, and they just see a PDF icon on the desktop. They go clicking on it, and of course, or in an email, they go clicking on it and they don't know it's an actual executable or whatever it is, and it will infect the system. You can see here, I can see all of these files are PNG files, they're MP4 files, and all the other file types that you can get. You would be able to see the extensions for them. Why they haven't implemented that, I do not know, and they should do, because it's been in every version where they don't implement it, and it's a real big pet hate of mine. Next up is these little buttons here. They used to have these on Windows 7 and XP where you could put them along the top there as big icons, and if you do get used to using them and then they take them away, they have added this little ribbon bit in here where you can add them back in, but it wasn't there before and you couldn't add them in. But they are still very small and I would like to see them along the top bar there. They have got the properties up there and delete, so I don't know why they don't allow you to put these all along this top area, like this properties area here, and have them all sitting side by side with an icon there. That would be nice. But there is a little ribbon that you can add in for those little icons there, and I do use those quite a lot, so I do like those to be added as a bigger icon so you can see it. Next up, it's the bloatware that comes with Windows 10. There is a ton of bloatware that gets installed on the installation process, which is all your apps like Candy Crush and all the other types of games that you never ask for, and you have to go along and remove them all from the system. There's other stuff inside here that I never use, maps and stuff like that. If you do use that, then good for you. You know, it should be a feature that's not by default on. It should be a toggle switch to enable to turn on, and if you don't want it on, it's already off, and it saves you a lot of time. Every single time you have to go back in here and remove a lot of this stuff. So other apps and stuff like that, and other bloatware and settings that you have to go through, I don't like, and that's one of the big things I don't like about Windows 10. Another thing is Microsoft Edge. It's absolutely abysmal, and I don't know whoever used it. I've never used it. I don't like it. It's always clunky. It doesn't do a great job, and it's one of the things that I always want to get rid of. So personally, they've always struggled with browsers, Microsoft, with their browsers. Like Explorer was always rubbish, it was always breaking, and there's always issues with it. But the Edge browser has always been a problem. Now they have resolved a lot of these problems and actually updated Edge as we speak. So you can use the very latest and greatest Edge, which is way better than the previous versions of Edge. If you do want to get it, it's already up there. You can download it and get it installed. I'm pretty sure this will be a default installation for that browser once they roll out a big massive update again, and this will probably be the default browser, I'm pretty sure. They've even changed the icon to something a little bit more nicer, so they've actually got away from that blocky Edge shape type icon and gone with something a little bit more modern. It does look a bit more modern and a bit more stylish compared to the old style type of tile that was on the desktop there. Yeah, so definitely update to the latest version of that. Also, I'm not sure why Internet Explorer is still on Windows 10. Maybe it's got some sort of code that it uses for Edge, or some other reason for it to be on the system, and it's still there, and I'm not sure why it's still on the system, but it's still there, and you can see it's the Explorer 11 on there. So that's still there, and this looks a bit old and dated, but maybe it's still using some sort of code or something like that. I don't know, but maybe they're using something like that. Another thing that they need to overhaul is the actual control panel. For some reason they've left it exactly how it was in Windows 7. It's been the same, and maybe they haven't finished it yet, or maybe they don't know whether they're going to get rid of it completely. But it'll be a shame if they do get rid of it, because I do use it quite a lot still. And I do think it would be nice to just give it a bit of a different GUI interface to make it look a little bit nicer and a bit more modern, and bring it up to date with Windows 10. Now here is another one that some people like to still do, especially if you've been with Windows a long time. You're going to have to go to settings here, then go over to personalization and go into themes, and then go over to desktop icons settings. And they seem to have buried it, but a lot of people still use these for some reason, and it's called computer, and you've got your control panel, network and user files, and you can click apply and OK, and it will put those back on your desktop. These won't be shortcuts, they will be proper icons on your desktop. And if you've been using Windows for a long time, they've always been able to do that. For some reason they've buried it this time, but I think some people still like to add those to the desktop. So that's basically how you can do that. It would be nice if they made it a bit easier to find. Next up, the thing I like to disable next is Cortana. I don't like it, I don't use it, I have no use for it, and of course some people might like Cortana. I personally don't use it or like it, so I just have to go into Group Policy Editor and disable all of the Cortana features. Now these will obviously get reset every time they do a major big update, and if you've got Windows 10 Home, you're not going to be able to use a group policy editor. It doesn't come with it. So, and there is workarounds around it, but you know, at the end of the day, it should be easy to do for people if they don't want it. It shouldn't be on by default. Now, during the installation process, it lets you turn that feature off, and it will be off, and it will only just turn it off inside the privacy area. But here is how you really sort of disable the whole thing. Now, you can't completely remove it because it is embedded into Windows, so you have a bit of trouble getting rid of it completely, but you can just disable it like this. And it normally comes bundled with a bunch of other stuff like OneDrive and other bits and pieces that you never even asked for, other bloatware, and it's another pain to deal with every single time. So once you've done your reset, Cortana should be removed like you see on the bottom of the screen. Now, next up is the bugs that Windows 10 brings on every single update. They seem to update Windows 10 quite a lot, and it's just one bug after another. Some people have no problem at all, but if you are one of these people that have audio issues or microphone issues or some sort of search issues or menu systems and all this sort of stuff, loads and loads of bugs that break things all the time. Sometimes you get loss of data. I've seen so many bugs with Windows 10, it's not funny, and they need to sort this out, and it's because they don't test their updates before they release them, because they got rid of all their staff. So what will happen is you end up having to be the guinea pig for Windows 10, and you end up having to fix a lot of bugs. Now, sometimes you can't fix these bugs because the bugs are so bad that Microsoft haven't released a fix for it, so you then have to roll back. But then you've got a short amount of time to roll back because obviously they've made the limitation on the amount of time that you get to roll back. And of course, you could always use your system restore point, but guess what? Microsoft have also disabled system restore points by default as well. And also there's that other feature called regback. They got rid of that as well, and it just seems to be one problem after another. Why they get rid of stuff that people use to try to roll back their system, I don't know. But anyway, that's going to be about it for this video. I think I've said enough bad things about Windows 10, but they're probably my most things that I don't like about Windows 10. Let me know in the comments section below any of the ones that I might have missed, or ones that you have that you don't like about Windows 10. And of course, keep it friendly, and I shall see you again for another video tomorrow. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the red subscribe button and hit the bell notification button and click all to be notified when we upload new videos.